Welcome to Beyond the Listing, a RE/MAX Fairlane Realty podcast. My name is Joanne Bouley, and I am the owner and managing associate broker of RE/MAX Fairlane Realty. And I'm delighted today to do our first episode with my co-host, JJ Francis.
Each week on Beyond the Listing, we go beyond the listing itself, highlighting one of our agents, giving you a real look inside our brokerage, and breaking down one current real estate topic that matters.
So before we get started, JJ, I want to just check in with you to ask you a few questions.
Of course.
So why did you get into real estate?
So I got into real estate mainly because years ago, it was always kind of a fascination of mine. And one of the things that really attracted me to real estate is I do have, a decent sized family of 3 kids.
Yep.
And one of the top things about real estate is the fact that it enables me to make my own schedule and schedule myself around my kids and community events that I have on my calendar. It's a lot more freeing
Right.
in a way.
Yeah. Absolutely. And with that, what's your most favorite thing about being a realtor?
I'd say my favorite thing about being a realtor would be, seeing that happiness on a client's face when they either get their pre-approval for their mortgage and tell you about it, when they find that house, it really sparkles in their eye. And at the end of the day, for a lot of people, it's, especially first-time home buyers, they don't know if they're going to get that house. The competition could happen. And when they finally know everything is firm and ready to go, that excitement that they get is just, it's palpable and it's really enjoyable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what makes you unique compared to other agents?
I think for myself, what makes me unique is, I've had several years in the private sector, many different jobs like that. So I've made a lot of connections that way. Really getting to know the nitty gritty of how different things work and give me a unique experience and a unique set of tools. But also it's my empathy. I treat every client, no matter if they're looking at a small piece of land, little shack, or if they wanted to buy a $2 million home, they're going to get the same amount of treatment and respect from me. And I'm going to go with them through the entire process and make sure that no matter what, at the end of the day, because this is a reciprocal business,
absolutely,
that they're happy.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And what advice would you give to buyers that are just starting out on their home journey?
If I was giving advice to buyers just starting out their home journey, it'd be kind of a mix of things. I'd say you want to make sure, of course, start with the basics. Make sure you're going to the bank first and getting your pre-approval, and not for the sake of any inconvenience. Never think it's going to be an inconvenience to the realtor. But what I always say to people is, one of the worst things that can happen is you find a house, you fall in love with it, and then you go to talk turkey and you find out you can't, you're not going to unfortunately be able to get that house. And then after that, every house you see after that is going to pale in comparison to the one that got away.
That's right.
So you want to have that lined up. And you also, just want to make sure that you have thought about some of the different things that you really like, and kind of piece this stuff together and be open and honest with your realtor so that they can help you create the perfect house.
Absolutely. So when you're not selling real estate and working with clients, what do you do in your off time?
Well, as I said, kind of in the intro, I have 3 kids. So a lot of what I do is involved around being home with kids. I have different community events. I am the assistant coach for my daughter's volleyball club team. So that takes us throughout the entire winter and even into as late as May, depending on what tournaments we're doing. One of my daughters also does track and field. I have a son who plays football. So any of the time where I'm not working is something, either trying to improve, my own house, or is, doing something with my kids, or the odd time golfing.
Okay. So JJ, last year you made a choice to move to RE/MAX Fairlane Realty from a bigger brokerage to grow your business. I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions to get your perspective on that change.
Of course, I'm an open book.
So what made you decide to change and join RE/MAX Fairlane Realty?
So other than the not so gentle prodding from my partner, who had been telling me for a while it was time for a change, the big thing for me was that I wanted to go from being maybe like a small piece of a larger puzzle to being more comfortable as a larger piece of a team and more of a family atmosphere.
Right.
There's no problems with larger brokerages. I've made some great connections and have some great friends from that previous place. But the change for me is I've been in Colchester County my entire life, and what I found was in being part of a larger brokerage that's from outside of the area, that for me, for my own self, and to even talk about my own shortcomings, is that when you don't have access to go into the same office every day, see the people, and really kind of keep everything rolling. For somebody like me, who I will admit to at times being a procrastinator, or a lot for some of you that know me, is the fact that it keeps me going, and I don't feel like I'm kind of out on an island on my own. So in joining Remax Fairlane, the great thing was it's very community oriented. I would see Remax Fairlane at all the events, the Halloween event and stuff like that. And I've always been somebody who, from the time I grew up, very community involved. My mother and father were very community involved as well. And being with a brokerage that's always out there in the community that I've lived in forever, really felt like it was going to be home for me. And here we are a year in. I've made great strides in improving my business. 2025 was one of my strongest years to date in my business, and really have felt connected and more part of the team here at Remax Fairlane.
Awesome. What's something about the brokerage that surprised you once you were here?
The surprise to me was how connected everybody was. There are different brokerages you can go to, and different realtors that you can meet that they're on their own. They're like, everything is about getting their business done.
That's
and they are wonderful people, but that's not my style. My style is more, you go into an office, you're with the same people, you've got your inside jokes, you make good connections.
Yeah, that's right.
And the amount of referral business that happens within just the office itself. Being a designated brokerage has that benefit that we're able to make sure that all of the clients that come into Remax Fairlane are handled properly, and that we know we can trust each other to pass off any business that if you may not have time for a certain bit of business, or it might be just a little outside the area that you can get to at that time due to whatever you got going on, but you always know there's a trusted person that works in the office that you can trust with that client, and make sure they're going to be handled the same way you would.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. How would you describe the level of support here?
Oh, well, I mean, I guess this is the part where, I have to brag about my bosses. No, the level of support is great, because right from the start, when I came in to Remax Fairlane, yourself and Sharon have been absolutely wonderful at talking with me about any issues that come up. If I'm trying to figure out a problem, I can always know that there's somebody in the office or yourselves that I can go right to with these questions. And we have a fantastic admin. Mary is absolutely the best when it comes to our compliance and stuff. I'm never worried about my deal not being packaged together properly, because if it's not, she will tell me, and I will make sure that it's done.
Yes.
And it's the wealth of knowledge that exists in the building. That's what really gets me. Is there's no question that really can't be answered. Somebody has a connection to somebody or something. And even the most obscure question, somebody in the office knows the answer.
So JJ, what's the one thing here that's helped you grow as an agent at Remax Fairlane?
So I'm going to say that it's two things. One is our regular Tuesday meetings, getting the entire team together, and everybody carving out that time to sit down and meet. We talk about everything that's going on in the market in our area, and talk about each other's listings and stuff like that. And then afterwards, we have a chance to kind of break out, and as everybody's coming downstairs, then we can all talk about different stuff that's going on, encourage each other, talk about different.
It's that sense of community.
It's a sense of community. More so, I call it a sense of family, because everybody really seems to genuinely care about.
That's right.
Everybody cares about everybody else's business, and we want to see each other grow. It's obviously we're all kind of call us all independent contractors in a way, but it's not just about the sales that each individual makes, or the money each individual person brings in. It's about making sure that everybody as a brokerage
That's
together is doing well. And also the fact that, our brokerage, I think, does really well at having a large portion of listings in this area and beyond. And so you get to know, you kind of get to see more of the listings when we're talking about them in the meetings. You get an idea of what's going on, and because of that, we have an idea of what's out there a lot more intimately than you would if you were, let's say, more disconnected from everybody else in your brokerage.
That's right. Well, and the viewing tours help too, right?
The
we do caravans where we view all the listings, and that helps as well.
Right, because you're working in a brokerage where the listings are within reason. They're driving distance around, and we all go around and walk into each other's listings, and it allows you to show it off to other agents, which
is good for your buyers. When you go through, you know everything about the property.
Well, it also makes your buyers and sellers happy, because your buyers are happy. You've been in the building before, and your sellers really like it because they know you're bringing those eyeballs into their home. And so one of the hardest things to do with any listing is get people in. And so if you've gotten other agents in, then as their clients are saying, hey, I'm looking for this, that, and the other thing.
That's right.
Oh, I was in the house that matches that.
And it also helps too, I think, when you're doing your market analysis, because there's a lot of things that you can't see that's on the internet in our program. And when you've been in more houses, I think it makes you a better agent.
Yes.
With pricing, right?
Some pictures when you're looking at a house make it look one way, and then you walk in and it is completely not. And so when you have the chance to be in the houses, then you can really talk to your clients with firsthand knowledge about what to expect when they walk in.
That's absolutely right. So the last question I have for you on this topic is, what kind of agent do you think would really thrive here at RE/MAX Fairlane?
One just like me. No, so I think the type of agent that would thrive here would be someone who really values camaraderie.
Right.
Somebody who is not afraid to admit when they don't know something.
Right.
Not afraid to ask for help, lean on others, and really be a team player.
That's right.
That's the big thing.
That's right.
You don't need to have super high energy. You don't need to always walk around, with a great big smile. It helps. It's always nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we have agents who are light and bubbly. We have other agents who are more stoic and quiet, and some that might look like Grumpy Cat. But that being said, everybody gets together and knows how to work together with everybody as a team, and really help the entire brokerage flourish.
Awesome. Let's switch gears a little bit.
Sure.
And let's talk about the market here in Colchester County and Truro, and what the predictions are for 2026. RE/MAX just released a housing outlook report for the area, for national and for the area, but let's talk about here locally. Average home prices are expected this year to increase between 3 to 4%, and they're saying that sales are probably going to be up about 8%.
So what we're seeing is a move towards a balanced market, meaning buyers and sellers are on a more even footing. For buyers, that means more choice and less pressure. For sellers, it means pricing and presentation matter more than ever. And we've seen that now, because you'll have a lot more negotiation going on.
That's correct.
When you're on both sides. If you have a buyer who's interested in a property, they do have a lot of times more chance to have some negotiating time. They're not competing right now against 15 other people at the same time. Now there are the hot property that's marketed really well at times, especially on the lower end price, can really draw a bunch of people in, and it can really make sure that you are going to have that little bit of a bidding war. But a lot of the houses, and I find personally, the houses priced anywhere between $300,000 and $500,000. When you go in and you take somebody in to look at those, they have some time to do their homework.
That's right.
And have a conversation, agent to agent, and figure out what's going to work best for both sides. Because most times, I find a higher percentage. I find that there's always a common ground that's going to work for everybody.
It's a win-win, right?
Win-win. Yeah, exactly. There's a little bit here and a little bit there, and you're able to.
And I think the other thing sellers need to realize too, it does take a little longer to sell the house. During COVID, It would take 2 weeks, 21 days to get it all wrapped up and done, and you're on your way to closing. I think we're in probably about a 60-day market now. I think I haven't looked at the most recent stats, but 60, you're a couple months if you're priced properly. If you're not priced properly, it's going to take a little bit longer. Right.
And presentation matters, because
absolutely
now when you're doing a listing, and a good thing to know for those of you who are thinking of listing your home, have your realtor come in see your home before it's ready to list and talk to you about what can be done to make it pop the most. There's certain tips that we give people. Make sure that the way that the average flow of how someone's going to walk through a house, your realtor is going to know that.
Yeah.
They're going to know that when you walk in through this front door, you want to make sure everything's looking as perfect as possible.
That's right.
And throughout the house, if there's stuff that you're unable to get to, you want those things be more towards the end of your walkthrough, and the realtor's going to know how they would show it. So they're going to know how other realtors are most likely going to come through. And you want to keep that level of excitement up throughout the walkthrough when you have buyers coming through. And so you want to make sure that the first thing they see isn't something that turns them off. And I've heard at different times from different people that I've had come in, when I've been showing them around a house, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, when I was listing my house at one point in time, I remember a realtor saying, like, you want this out of the way, that out of the way," and being way more successful in their sale because they listen to the tips and tricks.
That's right.
There are things you're gonna still do on your own.
Yeah.
But
I think too, sometimes people will hear staging and they think that it's a whole lot of money to do that. But you can do a lot with a very little budget, like toothbrush clean, clearing, clutter, and paint are your best friends, and lighting. And there's all kinds of little things, but those are the key things that usually don't cost a ton of money.
And different parts of your house are in a way worth more money, like small changes to your kitchen and your bathroom over doing a whole bunch of work in your living room will make a big difference.
That's right.
You want to concentrate on those key areas that bring the value of your house up. And you also want to make sure that when you're choosing a realtor that's going to list your home,
that's right,
that you have somebody that will, that really seems to understand what you're trying to project in the sale of the home, and can really talk to you about what it would be like, if I was going to be buying your home, this is the things that I like, this is what I wouldn't like. And make sure you're not getting a realtor that feels disconnected from what you want.
Right. You need to sit down and work together.
Right. I try to work with every one of my clients to to let them know. I mean, sometimes I do put a nice shirt on when I go around places, but I like to be more business casual most times, golf shirt or a polo, and let people know that a realtor isn't somebody who is better than the buyer or the seller.
At the end of the day, not a stuffy suit, right?
Right. That the times of the greasy salesperson have gone. You want to make sure that you're building that relationship with your clients that makes them comfortable, because at the end of the day, again, this is a reciprocal business. You want your clients happy buying or selling the whole way through, because at the end of the day, word of mouth is the only way that you're really going to benefit your business. You can look flashy and spend the money on advertising that, but if people don't like doing business with you,
it's not going to work.
It's not going to work. So, in a recap, and we work together every day, and we know each other well, so we could ramble on all day long about the housing market, different stuff like that. We could giggle and edit and do all that stuff, but the big thing that people should know is, don't be scared about getting into a real estate transaction, whether you're going to be coming as a buyer or coming as a seller. Be informed. There's no harm in looking online, doing your own research. Lots of people do that. There's many different websites that will give you lots of different information.
Right.
At the end of the day, we are here for you, especially for us. We're a designated brokerage. Everything we do is for the benefit of the client in which we are working with directly. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask. And even if you just have a question, stop into Remax Fairlane, 791 Prince Street.
Or give JJ a call.
Or give a call.
Yeah, and we'd be happy to answer your questions.
Oh, always. And again, no question too small. Call us, and we'll I love to chat on the phone with people. So if you just have a silly question or a question you think is silly, just want a quick answer, give a call. We'll talk about it, and you may end up walking into your next dream home, or being able to sell your home and move on somewhere. But you never know until you ask.
Well, I'd like to thank you, JJ, for being my co-host today.
I'd like to thank me too. I had a wonderful time.
Awesome.
Thanks, Joanne. This was
welcome.
a lot of fun. And for those of you who don't know, this is our first run through with this. So
be kind
and let us know on anywhere you see this, your thoughts, comments.
Yeah.
Make fun of us.
Drop a question.
We love questions.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks again for listening to us prattle on. Appreciate it.